Hi, everybody. It's Shelley from the Hudson Area Public Library, and we're here with our second installment of Librarians Recommend, where we talk about books we think you would love to read. And I'm here with the gang, Sarah, Chris, Madeline, and Joseph. And we are kind of in the Halloween season, so we're going to talk about some disturbing and scary books that we like and would recommend to you. And Chris is going to go first.
Thanks, Shelley. Yes, I'm going to get right into it. So I've chosen Stephen King's The Shining. If you can see that, and I chose it. There's a lot of great books to choose from for this time of year. I always get into those debates and battles over which was better, the book or the movie. So I think this is one of those great examples where the book and the movie are both fantastic, sometimes for different reasons, because if you've seen the movie and as well as read the book, you'll know that Stanley Kubrick takes some licenses and changes some things that he features in the movie that are not covered in the book and vice versa. But I think they're both very successful, and I can see the reasons why, as a filmmaker, he chose to go some different areas than some ground that was covered in the book. But then you read the book and it's amazing in its own right. So I think it's one of those things where they're both very rewarding, both very spooky, kind of a Halloween tradition for us to watch around here as the kids got older and were old enough to see the films. So just great writing. I'm not a huge Stephen King fan, which is another reason I wanted to pick it, because I know some people love every book that comes out for him. I'm a little more picky on Stephen King's body of work, but I think The Shining is just an excellent novel and kind of fits into that classic winter theme of kind of for some of us in those climates that can be cabin fever and kind of trapped in and all that. So just that's my pick for the Halloween season here. And I forgot who was going next.
Me. So
it was Joseph.
My pick
Joseph
this time around is The Supernatural Enhancements by Edgar Cantero. This is basically a modern take on like the classic Gothic ghost story. So it's told in a very interesting, like, epistolary format. They take that classic letters, diary entries, etc., and he runs it through a modern lens. So it has that, but it also uses things like video recordings, audio logs, etc. So it takes a very interesting tonal twist on the classic formula. Plot-wise, it follows a well-to-do young European gentleman who inherited a large estate from an estranged family member in rural Virginia. So takes, once again, that classic Gothic tone and shifts it to an entirely new locale in the rural American countryside instead of the classic, like England, London, etc. So all around, all across the board, it's a wonderful, spooky, unpredictable, I don't know if I would say modern classic, because I don't think enough people have read it, but I want to. So I highly recommend it. And after this review, I'm probably going to read it again myself, just because it's been a little too long.
Sounds good. Madeline, I think that leads us to you.
That's me. So for October, I picked one of my favorite books. This is called The Witch Elm by Tana French. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Tana French, she's amazing. She's the author whose books I look forward to every year. She's an Irish author. So if you enjoy audiobooks, she always has the most amazing narrators with great accents. And this book is no exception. The narrator for this book is incredible. This is an interesting book by her. It's her first standalone book. She writes very gritty mysteries. So kind of a warning, most of her mysteries involve sort of deep psychological traumas. There's, they could be a little gruesome, but what I love about her is it reads like literary fiction. She is so atmospheric and descriptive, and this book is just, to me, special in so many ways. So it starts with our protagonist, Toby, who has led a privileged life. This book is like a commentary on privilege and the question of privilege. He's a lucky guy. And then he has a traumatic, he's viciously attacked. He has a brain injury. He is not at all a likable character, but I couldn't help but feel incredible empathy for him as he learned how to adjust to his new body, his new mind. He is frustrated. He's paranoid. So he goes to recuperate at his ancestral family home, where of course one of his nephews finds a skull in the Witch Elm, the hollow tree in the yard. And while the mystery of the skull becomes one of the central questions, it's not as important as how Toby sort of puts himself together. He's there taking care of his uncle. He just has, there's just this network of subplots and psychological depth to this book. So I fully recommend this book for anyone who is interested in an incredible mystery, a literary voice, and again, just kind of a commentary on privilege. There's just so many layers to this book. I could talk about it all day, but I will cut myself off and we will go on to Sarah next. I'm just going to show you guys one more time. Tana French, The Witch Elm, and again, this is great on audio. So.
All right, well, I read this month Boundary Waters by William Kent Kruger. He is an author out of St. Paul, and I love mysteries and suspense, and that's what this book falls into. I chose it because of the name, The Boundary Waters. I love the Boundary Waters. I love the outdoors. So this is a good mixture of suspense and outdoors. It was a book that really does a great job describing things and makes you feel like you're right there in the Boundary Waters. Made me remember the time that I went and just soak in all the beauty, but I was glad I wasn't there for this story. There was a lot of murder in this book, but it was a book that kept me guessing. I would think I had it figured out, and then it would take a turn, and each character, you learn about them, and then you learn more, and you learn more, and you think you know something, but then you find out something else. So it's a story. I chose the book also. It's Cork O'Connor is the main character, and it said that there's other Cork O'Connor books. I kind of like that when you can follow along with a character in other mysteries, and so that's another reason why I chose this book. But Cork is approached by a man that said he is the father of a famous singer, and the famous singer is somewhere in the Boundary Waters, but he doesn't know where, and there's people out to kill her, and so he wants Cork's help finding her to keep her safe. And so throughout the book, you find out that two other people are also claiming they are her father, and so you're trying to figure out who's who and who's real and who's not. And I really enjoyed the suspense of figuring that out. So I recommend The Boundary Waters by William Kent Kruger.
Awesome. Well, last and potentially least, I am recommending Dan Schoen's Ill Will. I read his book, Wait Your Reply, many years ago, and it's one of the best literary mysteries I've ever read. So I picked this up and read it over a weekend. And the whole time I was like, I don't like this. It's disturbing. It's too dark. I like dark material. It's too dark for me. I hate this. I hate this. And I have not stopped thinking about it for 7 months. So I think it's actually a pretty amazing book if you can't stop thinking about it. The character in this book is still dealing with the reverberations of a childhood tragedy and the impact they have on his current life, particularly after his wife's death from cancer. So now it's him and his children and his small practice as a psychologist. And we sort of trace a mystery in the book. You've probably heard about it in the mass media, the constant college river drownings, you know, people who go out to the bar, and the bar and college are on river towns like Minneapolis, and these college kids disappear and end up being found in the river. And so it takes that and turns it into a mystery, and you watch their mental states dissolve slowly and painfully. And I really liked the inventive style that Schoen uses. I just wanted to, all of a sudden he'll break his story and the narrative into these columns. And it just sort of represents how the characters are sort of falling apart and their stories are unwinding yet coming together, I guess. It's dark, but it's also really brilliant. And you might want to, it's not that it's bloody and violent in the way some Stephen King books can be. It's more of the mental hijacking that you go through. And the end is, it gets pretty gruesome, and you might think about it for 7 months, but I think that's a really good thing. So if you're looking for something really disturbing over Halloween, consider Dan Schoen's Ill Will, or any of the other great books that Chris, Joseph, Madeline, and Sarah talked about today. And we hope to be back in a month with another set of recommendations for you, and hopefully our friend Joan will be back with us then. So thanks, everybody.